The comparative value of the religions of Babylonia and Assyria is very high, as they represent Semitic polytheism in evolution and in a state of prosperity, though hardly in decay. Quickly, before I continue, Semitic and Semwadu Aku literally mean the same thing, belonging to or a servant of the moon god. Either way, the moon god is Sin, Lord Zu, the moon god, whose symbol is 3 branches, or 3 flames. The word flame in Hebrew means demonic agency, which would be the it from Semitic, which would be the leader of the Udug Hul, a creature who in the beginning had no name or form. They call it the Shining One, alternatively the Treacherous One. Look before you leap. The religions of Babylonia and Assyria are in fact typical of Semitic religion as a whole, and as the Semitic race initiated no less than 3 of the great religious systems of the world: Judaism, Christianity, and Mohammedanism. Danism, surrounded by lions. Ouija, good luck. Judaism, Christianity, and Mohammedanism are all worth careful study on the part of those who desire to specialize in religious science. It is, however, for a variety of reasons, inevitable that we should compare them with the religion of Israel. The belief that in general most resembled them, although a wide cleavage existed between the ethics of that system and their moral outlook. That, notwithstanding, there was direct contact between the Babylonian and Jewish religions for a prolonged period, and the influence thus absorbed was quickened by racial relationship. Not to mention Alexander the Great, preserving the Babylonian script within the Greek Septuagint for a particular group of Hebrew-speaking people living in Greece. The influence thus absorbed was quickened by racial relationship. Here we deal with these purely Semitic and racial resemblances, which are so important for the proper comprehension of biblical history. Let us briefly compare the faith of Babylonia and Assyria with some of the great religious systems of the world. It perhaps more closely resembled the general Egyptian religious idea than any other. But whereas in Egypt the deities had been almost universally evolved from nome or province patrons, totemic or otherwise, a number coalesced in one form. The gods of Chaldea were usually city or district gods, showing much less of the nature of the departmental deity in their construction than the divinities of Egypt. The Egyptian god type was more exact and explicit. We have seldom much difficulty in discovering the nature of an Egyptian god. We find frequently, however, immense trouble in finding out what a Mesopotamian deity stands for. The Babylon-Assyrian idea of godhead appears to have been principally astral, terrestrial, or aquatic. That is, most Babylonian Assyrian deities are connected either with heavenly bodies, the earth, or the waters, similar to the 3 branches of fallen angels, mirrored upon our military forces. It is only an afterthought that they become gods of justice, of letters, of the underworld. This statement must of course be taken as meaning that their connection with abstract qualities is much more loose in the case of the Egyptian gods, that their departmental character is secondary to their original character as gods of nature. There is only one exception to this, and that is to be found in the department of war, to which some of them appear to have been relegated at an early period, and later to have become identified with it, war, very closely indeed. In one circumstance, the Babylonian Assyrian religion closely resembled the Egyptian, and that was the lasting effect wrought upon it by priestly cults and the theological schools, the assimilators, the remover of the taboo. From the gods, once demons, just as the priests of Thebes in Egypt, Thebes the Bez. The founding myth of Thebes is Cadmus and the dragon. The name Cadmus in Akkadian refers to a bitter serpent. They might be the precursors to the Hyksos, who worshipped Apep, who replaced Shesmu, the lion. But in the case of the eagle and the serpent, it is the eagle who is torn apart. In the case of Cadmus, which means bitter serpent, it is Cadmus who is torn apart. Therefore, he is an embodiment, a personification of that myth. And it is worth noting that the mythology is connected to sowing the dragon's teeth. The word sin or zu means tooth or teeth, blade, obsidian, to teach, etc. And that is exactly what we see here, because the term Argonaut, who sprang from the dragon's teeth, refers to the 50 old gods contained within Marduk, who were transferred into the heavens by Marduk, namely Argo Nevis, the constellation of the dragon, Zuben al-Akrabi, the claws of the scorpion. Argonaut refers to a band of any band of 50 heroes. In the mythology, they go with Jason, Aya's son, to fetch the golden fleece. The word mush, zus, means fleece, to cover, hide, conceal, eclipse, etc., and also means dragon, bitter, or snake. The scribes are really lazy. Thank you. To confirm, it is Aya's son, Iyar, Enki. Aya's father is Aeson, which are simply variations of the same name and refer to the realm of the 50 gods, the Abzu, and the cries and tears of the demons thereof. Just as the priests of Thebes and Memphis, on moulding the varying cults of Egypt, they added to their mythology and reading into them ethical significance. So did the priesthood of Nippur and Erech mould and form the faith of Babylon. We have plenty of evidence for such a statement, and nowhere perhaps was theological thought so rife in the ancient world as in Babylonia and Egypt. There are also points of contact with the great mythological system of Greece, that system which was so much a mythology that it could scarcely be called a religion. That Greece borrowed largely from Mesopotamia is not to be doubted. But we find the Hellenic departmental deities very explicit indeed in their nature. Pallas, for example, stands for sin, Zu, wisdom, or tooth, or teeth. Poseidon for the sea, Ares for war. One god usually possessed one attribute, and although Zeus has a number of minor attributes, we do not find him combining in his one person so many gods as does Merodach. I beg to differ. Pan and Ban in Babylon mean bow, and in Greece it means all. Zeus became Zeus Panoptes, meaning the all-seeing Argos, which would be Argo Navis, referring to a many-eyed giant, referring to the Agigi in Mesopotamia, the eyes of the watchers, and his symbol is that of the divine storm bird, lightning, which gives us Usna, fire, the fire that Prometheus stole from Zeus, the problem being that Anzu means eagle or vulture, but Sin, Zu, Zuez, Zeus backwards, is the Babylonian Prometheus. As has been said, it would seem that the departmental character of many Babylonian gods was purely accidental or fortuitous, meaning Ouija, good luck. The formula they use seems to run like this. They take a local or city god, probably derived from totemic sources, or maybe an animistic origin. Having conquered much of the surrounding territory, exalt him to the position of god of a large region, which, being incorporated again with a still larger empire, leaves him only a local status. This status cannot hold in a pantheon where each member must possess a specific attribute. Therefore, it becomes necessary to impose upon him some quality by which he can be specially recognized. For example, wisdom. Sometimes the quality is suitable to his character. In fact, it may be indicated by it. But at other times, it is merely arbitrary, meaning something determined by chance, meaning the bow star from heaven, which is Belomancy, gaining direction from Bel, shooting arrows, reading cards, pulling straws, or rolling the dice, all derived from the worship of Belomancy. Ouija, good luck. Why, for example, should Ishtar have been made into a goddess of war by the Assyrians? Probably Mr. Spence, because she is the son of Sin, and her twin, the god of justice, dwells within her, and her name refers to the pit of destruction. This bestowal of departmental characteristics upon the gods of Babylonia and Assyria was contemporary with the erection of these countries into empires. No pantheon can exist on high without a political reflex in the world below. Like the granting of most departmental offices in religious systems, these changes took place at a comparatively late date in the evolution of Semitic religion. Whenever we find the departmental deities of a religious system more or less sharply outlined, meaning clear-cut as to their duties and status, we may premise two things. First, that the temporal power has been acquired by the race which conceived them, and secondly, that this power is of comparatively recent origin. When we speak of departmental deities of a country like Babylonia or Egypt, we must bear in mind that these lands knew so many dynasties and had such an extended history that their religious systems must have, from first to last, experienced the most profound changes. In Egypt, for example, religious phenomena altered slowly and by imperceivable degrees. What they mean is they wait 2 to 3 generations before they make their next move, when all the serpents are gone. The changes experienced in the course of 50 centuries of religious evolution must have made the cults of Egypt exhibit very different conditions at the close of their developed form. Let us say, those seen midway in their evolutionary course. We have seen how the Babylonian and Assyrian faith altered in the course of generations, but withal there appears to have been something more strongly conservative in the nature of Semitic religion than any other. Probably in no other land did the same ritual and the same religious practices obtain over so long a period as in Babylonia, where the national life was much stronger and much more centralized than in Egypt. If rival cults did exist, they were all subservient to one, which must be Sumerian, as was by no means the case in the land of the Nile.